Okay. Okay. See you later.
Hey, how are you?
Or Hashem, how are you?
Good, good.
You going away for the weekend?
No, I'm home.
No.
I'm home. How about you?
No, we're staying home.
Hi, Johnny. Johnny, you muted.
Yeah. Hi. Hi.
How's Eileen
Hey,
doing?
Johnny.
It's fine.
Good.
Fine. Uh, I think a lot of people went to Israel this week.
Ah, not. I wish I was going. Ernie's going tomorrow.
I wish I was there too.
Yeah. It's we all.
Ezzy went today. He's going to be there tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Till
How long is he going for?
the 30th.
Oh, very nice.
Short trip.
Okay, still not. He's coming back Sunday already?
No, the 30th, he has a flight back through Vienna. So he's going to stop in Vienna for
The
2.
30th,
Hmm?
the 30th is Sunday.
The 30th, when is the 30th?
Sunday?
I guess. Then he goes to Vienna and then he's there for 2 nights. I think he'll be back on the 3rd. No, then he goes to New York and then he comes back. It's a short trip. Very short trip.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh,
Evening.
Ernie. No. Say Chem Shalom, Balchem
Oh,
Shalom. You're
Shalom.
leaving us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I sent the no Sorba tonight,
I saw that. Yeah.
but we'll pick up December 9th, when 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
We'll try to learn 2 blot tonight, and then we will. I will teach Thursday, 9:00 p.m. Thursday night after Tzvika Shir. For those of you who go to Tzvika
So
Shir,
speakers now share this week.
okay. It still would be easier for me at 9:00 than 8:00.
No, you don't want to 8 o'clock. Anyway, it's Thanksgiving. A lot of people are going to be busy at this.
Even at 9:00 at night.
Not 9 o'clock, maybe everybody's finished, but I'm just saying 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's why I think it works out better.
Yeah.
Friday will probably be in the morning.
You're never going to make it in the morning. You can't do it. Shabbos is 4 o'clock in Yerushalayim. I don't know where your Shabbos. It's 4:15 in Ranana. How are you going to get on to nobody's up with double?
Let me see, 4:00.
No.
That would be 7 in the morning.
Yeah, the people are going to double.
Okay. We'll just have to do it Saturday night. I'll send everybody posts when it's going to be.
Okay. Lie safe. Enjoy.
Thank you. We're on Ayin Gimel, 73. We're talking about bittul. Kol davar sheyesh bo b'minyan. There's a Mishnah in that deals with dried figs that implies that even if there's just a possibility that something is going to be sold by number rather than, let's say, by weight, or right, it's by an individual number, even if usually it's not sold like that, but even occasionally, afilu b'drabanan lo batul, even if something is prohibited rabbinically, like truma d'rabbanan for figs. The only thing that is osir midoraisa are wheat, grapes, and olives. Then you have to give truma midoraisa. Otherwise, it's truma d'rabbanan, which would be prohibited if there was no bittul. And kol shekain midoraisa. So since our animal, which is prohibited for sacrifice, is prohibited midoraisa, certainly there would be no bittul. Now, where do we see this sugya regarding the figs? Tanya. Litra k'tzir shadarsha al pi eagle. They used to dry figs, then they would press the figs into like a round. And they had a mold, and if it was in the mouth of the mold, so they knew that's specifically where this fig was. But let's say there were 50 different, these round molds, and he knew he pressed it into the mouth of it. But there's 50 of them, and he doesn't know which one he did. Or al pi chavis, he pressed it into the top of a barrel. He doesn't know which one he did. He knows it's not in the barrel, it's on the top of the barrel. Or al pi kaveres, like a beehive. So Rab Meir explains the machlokas like this. Rab Meir Oimer, Rab Eliezer Oimer, Roinas al Yonis ki Elohein Prudos. these figs that were placed in the molds, we view them as if you can mingle them with all the other figs that are in the mold. There's bittul. But Rabbi Yeshua, no, the only time you can be mavatel these figs that were placed in the mouth of the mold is if you have 100 different molds and 100 different mouths. So you have figs in 100 different mouths. Then 100 will mavatel the one. The imlava puim asurim. Otherwise, every fig that's in the mouth of the mold would be usur. So you'd have 100 figs usur. But the other figs that are in the mold certainly are shulai mutarim. That's the way Reb Meir explains the machlokas. Reb Yehuda Omer, Reb Eliezer Omer Yesham Kuf Pumin Yalu. He says if there are 100 mouths, then of course there will be bittul. Otherwise, the other figs do not participate in the nullification. Rabbi Yeshua, he is of that sheet, like we said, that since occasionally these types of figs are going to be sold per unit, so there's no nullification no matter what you do. Now the brisa continues. Drasa be'igel. You press this fig into a round press. Here, it's not like you put it in the opening, the mouth of it. You don't know where you put it. Or it's phone, or the drum north or south. So then you can be mavatel. Divrei hakol yalu. All the figs will come to nullify the one fig. Ravashi Omar, to explain our Mishnah, that you don't have to go to that our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda, which of the figs that we just quoted, where there's no bittul if you sell it one by one, you can say afilu temi rabbanon. The rabbanon says there are only 6 types of things that there's no bittul. We learned them yesterday. Certain types of pomegranate, and we listed the 6 things. Even according to the rabbanon, that other things are batul, balei chayim chashivi, v'lo batli. An animal is a live thing, and it's chashuv, and therefore there can't be bittul. Now the Gemara tries some other tacks. Okay, you have one animal, Asr Bana, that got mixed up with 100 animals. We say all of them have to die. Now why? Pull one of the animals, or pull them each one by one, and use a svara of a name called a parish meruba parish. Famous Gemara we've had elsewhere. You have 10 butcher shops, 9 kosher ones, 1 non-kosher. And they're all on the same block. And you have a piece of meat that's found outside on the sidewalk. So since there's 9 kosher butchers against 1, we say called the parush. Since the meat separated itself from the store and is outside, we say called the parish meruba parish. It must have come from one of the 9 butcher shops. As opposed to if you found a piece of the meat on the floor of the butcher, you just don't know which, were you in the kosher one or the non-kosher one? Then that's a concept called kavua. Called kavua kemechzal mechzadami. If you find it if it hadn't separated from where it started, it's treated as kavua. So the Gemara now wants to say, if you take an animal one by one, let us say that you've taken an animal from the majority, which is permitted. So the animal in the herd is considered kavua, and then it's mechzal 50-50. It's a suffix midoraisa. You have to be machmir. Called kavua kemechzal mechzadami. Ela nich bevinu denaidi. Okay, like use a stick and cause some of the animals to leave the herd. The name called the parish, meruba parish. Then you didn't take the animal from the herd. You took it from that what left the herd. And then we can use this leniency of called the parish, meruba parish. Amar Rava Gzereshem Yavo Yud Kohanim V'Asachas V'Yikru. Rava says technically you could do that, but we make a gzera because 10 Kohanim will come at one shot. You're talking, let's say there were 16 animals, and so 10 is a majority. And they would shecht and get the blood and put it on the mizbeach. But they'll say that the fact that you had it from the majority, there was no forbidden animal there. Amr le'ahum rabbanon l'rava meyata migisa asira. I mean, why would it be prohibited once it's been shechted and the blood is in the bowl? They're certainly not kavu anymore. Mishum shama yavo yud kohanim v'asachas v'yikhu. Perhaps they came at exactly the same time and took 10 animals from this mixture. Maybe the forbidden animal is there. And the Gemara says, how could you explain Basra Kohanim v'asachas miyavshi? Can't 10 Kohanim can't do something exactly at the same time. Elo amar Rava mishum kavua. It's a rabbinic prohibition because if you allow to do it from the parush, they'll take it from the herd itself, and then you have the problem of kavua. Amar Rava hashadami rabbanon lo nakriv. So now that the Chachamim said there's a gzeira, you shouldn't offer this korban. Inakriv lo maratzi. If he went ahead and was makriv it, it's not accepted by Hashem. Eis feir avuna bar Yudah l'Rava. Chatas shenasarva ba'oila. 2 birds, one was a chatas, one was an ola. They got mixed up, or ola b'chatas. And afilo achas beriba, one chatas gets mixed up with 10,000 olos. Yamusu kulan, they all have to die. B'medvar more in b'koin nimlach. That's if the coin asks the bezin what he should do. We tell him don't offer anything. But if a b'koin shein nimlach, if the coin did it without asking, and asan l'malfi applied both birds above the line, then mechza kosher mechza posel. Only half are permitted. The chatas, which has to be done below, will have to be replaced. If he did both birds lamata, then mechza kosher mechza posel. Then he has to bring a new ola. Achas lamata v'achas lamala. We say shneim psulish. Ani omer chatas krevel lamala v'oila krevel lamata. We take the worst case scenario. But this seems to imply, against what Rava said before, that if the coin went ahead and offered it anyways, even though he wasn't supposed to do it, it's meratzeh. So the Gemara answers, Rava is going like a different Tana. That once a Baal Chai, a live animal, is rejected, it remains rejected. You cannot permanently reject a live animal. If you shechted it and you have blood, or you have evorim, so those things can be pushed aside if you take them outside, if they become tomei. But if you hold that a Baal Chai cannot be rejected, then they would hold that if you slaughtered it without asking the shaila, it would be accepted. But we're talking about animals that were shechted. Everybody holds you can push them aside. Utnan, even so, let's say you have an animal that had a balmum, and it got mixed with other good korbanos, and it was slaughtered. Ernie,
don't you want to start the recording again?
Yes. Okay, so that was 73. Now we're going to, let me sign off and sign back, and we'll do 74. I'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to start with Ayin Dalit. So you've shechted all these animals. If the head was offered, then you can offer all the other heads. You have different limbs. So when you had one head from a Balmum that got mixed up, technically you couldn't put any of the heads. But now one of them was put on by mistake. So you could say that was the bad one. The rest of them are kosher. So how can we say in Rava that the korbanos are not permanently rejected? Rabbi Eliezer holds Huda Amar kechanan hamitzri. The Tanya. Chanan hamitzri Amar filu dam bakos. There is no, you can't, even we have two goats, Yom Kippur. You shechted one goat and you have blood in the kos, and then another goat. You don't have to start again with two goats. Maybe chaveru mazaviglo. You bring another goat and you pair it up with the kos. So Chanan holds that even the blood in a kos is usable. It's not nidcha. So he doesn't hold of nidcha. That's why, going against Rava, saying that if you applied it, even you weren't supposed to do it, there would be maratza. And now we have a whole sugya of bittul. I remember learning this sugya when we were learning Yoredeya and Smicha. You know, we bring Gemaras from all over the place. It's not just Chulin, Avodah Zarah. This was one of the Gemaras that we learned. Tabashal Ovid Kerchavim. You have a ring that was used to offer to a Avodah Zarah. Shenis Arba B'Mea Tabos. Got mixed up with 100 regular rings. So you can't use any of the rings. They're all osban. There's no bittul. But nafla achas gadol. If one of the rings of that 100 fell into an ocean, hutra kulon, you can use the others. We use a halachic leniency. We say, you know what? The one that fell in was the Asr Dika one. The rest are kosher. Because technically, Minat Torah, all you need is Rov. The stringency that there's no nullification is Chachamim.
Why wouldn't you use Ruba Kekula? Chachamim use Ruba Kekula. Yeah, you've got so many rings. You've got 100 rings.
Said that 100 to 1 is also Asr, but only Migzeres Rabbanon. Minat Torah, it's okay. So that's why we have this leniency. If one of the rings fell into the Yam HaMelech, we say that's the one that was prohibited, and you can use the other ones.
But we don't say that by Basa.
We have similar heterim by there as well. First of all, they're 1 in 60. It depends what we're talking about. If it's a davar chashuv, afilu be'elef loy batel. But there, for example, and we're going to see in a minute, it's not one ring; it's two rings. So if two rings fall, there's like two. One of them could be the prohibited one. One is the permitted one, and then with two, it'll work. We'll see that in a minute. And it's only if the ring fell accidentally. You can't lechatchila throw it into the ocean. It's a gzeira midrabanan because the rabbanan also don't allow us to lechatchila be mevatel in isser. When we say that something is batel b'shishim, that's only if it accidentally fell in. You can't use if a recipe calls for a drop of milk to give taste, and you know that it's less than 6, you can't put it in even though you know you're going to be mevatel it. Ein mevatel lechatchila. It's a gzeira midrabanan. The heter of nullification is only by accident if it falls in. We learned that in Sorba too. Now, this halacha that was just said, Eisvei Rav Nachman. Afilu achas beribo, we said you have one forbidden animal. Our Mishnah that got mixed in with 10,000 kosher animals, Yamusa Kulan. They all have to die. Amai. Take one, kill it, right? Name a demis, isurim. Or let's say one of them died. Why do you have to let all of them die? Using the same svara, you say the one that died was the prohibited one. Armale Rav Damar Rav Lezer, it's not. Rav Lezer Oimer. In Korev Arosh Echad Mehem, we had that halacha. You have a bunch of limbs, and there was one blemished animal in the group. Everything is, you can't put any of them on the mizbeach. If one of the heads were put, you can put the other heads. But that's only Rabbi Lezer who allows it. The Chachamim over there don't allow anything to be put on. So the Mishnah that said even 1 in 10,000, you have to allow them to die, is according to Rabbanan. Even Rabbi Eliezer permitted the head, it had to be 2 heads. Aval echad lo. Listen, when you put 2 heads, remember there's only one forbidden head in the group. So if you put 2 heads on the mizbech, you know for sure that one of the heads that was on that mizbech is kosher, because there was only one prohibited one. So just as we make the assumption that one of those heads is not forbidden, we say the other head is also not forbidden. But you wouldn't be able to do it with one. So Amarle Anatarti Kamina, he also says, when I said that if 2 rings fall into the Yamamelach, it wasn't 1 ring, it's 2 rings. Okay, Amar Vidamarav. Tabash Avodas Kachav, ring of an Avodah Zarah. Shenis Arba B'Mea Tabos, got mixed up with 100 other rings. Now, Uparshu Arboim L'Mokam Echad, 40 rings of those 100 moved to one place. V'shishim L'Mokam Acher, and 60 moved to another place. And then, Parsha Achas Me'arboim, one of the rings of the 40 fell into a group of completely permitted rings, Eino Oseres. Those rings all remain permitted. What are we saying? We're saying that we had 1 forbidden ring in a group of 100. Then we moved 40 here and 60 there. What we say is the prohibited ring must have gone with the 60, which is the majority. And therefore, any ring in the 40, if it separates into a new taruvis, is permitted. But achas mishishim oseres. If one of the rings in the group of 60 fell into another group of kosher rings, all of those rings are now prohibited. The Maishna achas merbaim delo. Why do we say that if one of the 40 doesn't prohibit, Damrin and Isur Beruba Isay, we say because the prohibited ring was in the group of 60. Well, Achas Mishishim Nami, Amrin and Isur Beruba Isa. Why don't we say one ring of the 60 fell in somewhere, but the prohibited ring is along with is part of the other 59 rings that were left behind? That's the Gemara's question here. Ella in Parshu Arboim Kulu L'Mokam Echad. So 40 rings moved to a specific place. And that whole group of 40 got mixed with permitted rings. Then we say Eina Oseres. They don't cause that second group to be prohibited. Because we say that the forbidden ring is in the group of 60. But Shishim L'Mokam Echad. But if the 60 get mixed up with another mixture of permitted rings, they all become asur. This was in the name of Ra. But Ki Amrite Kamei de Shmuel. When this halacha was learned in front of Shmuel, Omar Li, Hani Lavaris Gechovim Shesfeko Svek Sveka Asur Ad Sof Olam. You can't learn to other prohibitions from Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is so stringent that forget about one suffix. Even sfeika, even if there's a double suffix, it's going to remain prohibited forever. The leniency of a sfeika doesn't apply to Avodah Zarah. And therefore, when we started off by saying the group of 40 rings fell into another group of rings that were permitted, we tried to say that would be permitted. No, that's not permitted. Even that's a sfeika. The first suffix is that the tabas is in the group of the 60. If you're going to say it's in the 40, it's so that's to assume that when there's a prohibition, it's with the 60. That's one suffix. But we treat the second mixture even as the same suffix. There's no sfeika when it comes to Avodah Zarah. So the Gemara says meisvei. Suffix avodas kechavim asur. You have a ring. It's a suffix whether it was involved in Avodah Zarah. So that if it falls into a group of rings, will asur. But sfeika muteres. How does that? But if it's a double doubt, it would be okay. Ketzah. Kos shel avodas kechavim. You have a goblet that's used to pour wine in front of Avodah Zarah. Shenafa lo'oitzer malikoisis. And you have a storeroom full of cups. And this kos that belonged to Avodah Zarah fell into a place, and we can't distinguish the cups. Kula nasurim. It's a single suffix. And there's no bittul. We said that things for Avodah Zarah are not even a filu in 10,000. No bittul. They're all osir. However, and then, pirish echad mehen leribo. In that group, you took one and it fell or separated into another 10,000. Umeribo leribo, and then one of that group into another mutorin. They're all permitted. So that because it's a second doubt. It's possible that the forbidden cup never fell into the first group of 10,000. Even if it did, maybe it never fell there from the second group. So we seem to have one opinion that says by an avodah zarah sfeika is prohibited, and this brisa that was quoted that says sfeika even by avodah zarah is permitted. Tanoi. So it's machlekes tanoim. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rimoine Bada. These pomegranates, oisrin bekolshu. There's no bittul. They fall into a group of pomegranates. It's prohibited in any amount. These were one of those 6 items that never become. We're talking about if they're orla or truma, they're prohibited because they're chashuv. Ketzah. Nafal echad me'elasoch ripo. One of these pomegranates fell into 10,000. And then you took one of them and it fell into another 10,000. Ribo. Asurin, they're all asur. But Rav Shimon, Rav Shimon, Ribo asurin. In the initial first suffix, it's asur. But Meribo l'shloshim, m'shloshim l'kamacher, mutter. Because, so there's a machlokas tanoim, whether the sfeika works by these items that are otherwise prohibited. So Shmuel Damar Kama. So who did Shmuel say that the avodah zarah is usher even by sfeik? Ik Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, filu b'shari tzrim usher. The Rimoine Badan is not avodah zarah; it's orla or trum; it's other isurim. He also there's no heter even for that. And Ik Rab Shimon. He permitted even by avodah zarah if it's a sfeik. So who's Shmuel holding like? Maybe Reb Shimon only matirs by Shari Surim, but not by Avra. But Elahad Tanya, Safek Avodas Kechov Masura, but it was Sveik Muteris. Mani. Who would that be? Lo Rabbi Yehuda, Lo Rabbi Shimon. So Lo Olam Rabbi Shimon. Shmuel is going like Rabbi Shimon, but the Shmuel so like Rabbi Yehuda B'chada. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda regarding one of the dinim of Avodah Zarah, that even if it's Sveik by Avodah Zarah, it's Aser. But Upolek Ale B'chada. But he argues with Rabbi Yehuda regarding that opinion. He is lenient by Sveika, by Shar Isurim, not Avodah Zarah. Omer Mar. Meribo L'Shlosha. We said one of the pomegranate fell into 10,000. Then one of those fell into 3. And then one of that group, Mishlosha L'Moko, falls into another place. Then we say Mutter. The Maishna Shlosha. Why did there have to be 3 pomegranates there? And now with the 4th, 3 against 1, it's nullified. What were we using the principle? The Ikaruba? Shnaim Nami Ikaruba. Meaning, if 1 fell into 2, 2 against 1 would also nullify. Why did you have to say 3? So, my Gimel Diktoni, Tarti Vuhu, Enachanami. We're talking about one of these pomegranates fell into a group of 2. It's 3, 2 plus it's 3. But Viboy Sem is several like Rabbi Eliezer. He follows the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer that you have to throw, like there's a din if you used wood that belonged to Avodah Zarah, and you use that wood to bake bread. If that bread mixes with others, so they're all forbidden. But Rabbi Eliezer there says if you throw one of them into the ocean, they remain forbidden, but even though there's a sveika. So you could say that Shmuel holds like this, Rabbi Eliezer. Amreish Lakish. Chavish shel truma. You have wine that's truma. It cannot. Is that Saul? You didn't get the message? Chavish shel truma shnisarvu b'mei chaviyos. In order for a non-Kohen to eat it, so 1 barrel has to be mixed with 100, and then nafla achas meliyam melech. One of the barrels fell into the ocean. Hutru kulon, they all become permitted. Damrin and hachta nafal disur nafal. That which the barrel that fell in was the yisur. Well, we already had this already. Why do we need to repeat this? Itzrich Rav Nachman v'Itzrich Reish Lakish. Demon Rav Nachman, because of the rings, that was the case of Avodah Zarah, the Ein Lamatirin. There's no permitted use at all. Aval Truma the Yesh Lamatirin, because you can give it to a Kohen or sell it to a Kohen. Maybe low. Maybe we don't use this leniency. Even Reish Lakish Havamina Chavis. You can notice when a big barrel falls into the ocean, the minker and the filosa. Aval tabas. Well, minker and the filosa, we don't notice it. Maybe this ruling that we assume that which fell into the water was the prohibited one, we wouldn't use it. So tzrichi, we needed to be taught in both cases. Amar Rabba. Lo hitir Reish Lakish el chaviyos the minker and the filosa. When Reish Lakish matired the remaining barrels, because 1 barrel fell into the water, it works by a chavis because you can notice it. But te'ena, if it's a fig, and a mixture of a fig with prohibited ones and 1 fall, it's not noticeable. Avatena lo. Rav Yosef afilu te'ena. Kin filosa kachaliyosa. Just like when it originally fell into the group of permitted figs, it answered all of them. Now that it leaves, it permits the whole thing. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Chavish shel truma shenafla b'kuf chaviyos. You have a barrel of truma that fell into other 100 barrels. All of this is sealed. Posech echad mehem, v'noitel emene k'dei dimu v'shoyse. You can open up a barrel. That barrel is no longer chashuv because it's been opened. You take out one out of 101 of the yain from that chavis. That's the percentage of truma in the total mixture. Because the rest of the wine can be, remember, one truma is mizbatel 1 in 100. The rest of the wine can be drank. You just remove the wine. If you have a coin, but if you don't have the coin, you just remove it. However, Yosef Ravdimi v'Korban Shmaitza, Amli Rav Nachman, Gama v'Shasi kachazina hacha. Why would it be a heter to open up the one of the chaviyos? Because normally we say a sealed cask cannot be nullified. How can you go ahead and go over that? It opened accidentally. Then you have this heter of no telemenik dedimu v'shoysa, and then you could drink the rest of the wine. Omer Rav Yishaya, chavish shel truma shenesav b'mea v'chamishim chaviyos. You have a sealed barrel, got mixed up with 150. V'niftechu mea mehan, 100 opened accidentally. Noitele menek dedimu v'shoysa. Again, from the rest, you take 151 from the 100 open barrels, and you could drink the rest of the wine in those open barrels. Usha'ar, the remaining 50 casks that remain closed, they're asur, actually yiftachu. Lo amrina nisur beruba itse. We don't say that the forbidden ones, that the forbidden barrel was in the 100 ones that got opened. Then we said harovea v'anirba. An animal that had relations with a person, or a person had relations with an animal, and it got mixed up with kosher korbanos. So we forbade everything. We didn't forbade. We say they have to graze until they get a mum. Bishma kula lo yediyah. I understand if there was sexual acts done with the animals, you can't tell the difference. So fine. One becomes intermingled, you have to let it graze to get a mum. But we also mentioned treifa. High treifa chidomi. What kind of treifa? If we can identify it, leisi v'lishka. So just take the treifa animal away from the group. And ilo yodale, if you can't tell it, min yoda diyarv. How do you know that the treifa animal is in the mixture in the first place? Amri dvei Rav Yanai hachal ma'eskinon gon diyarv nekuvas hakots pedrusas za'ev. You have an animal that walked on a thorn. That is not a treifa if it doesn't go into the internal areas of the animal. And it got mixed with an animal that was attacked by a wolf, which does become a treifa. But you can't distinguish between the two. So you have to let the two graze until it gets a move. Rish Lakish Amar, another way to explain when you have a kosher korban mixed with one that is going to be prohibited. The yarv b'nefula. If an animal falls from a roof, it's a treifa, but you can't tell the difference. If it cannot stand, and if you slaughter it within 24 hours, it's treif. Even if later on you examine it and there's no internal damage, because there may be a concussion. If the animal beyond 24 hours, then they would have seen it. So the Gemara says, Nefulanami livdecha. You can check to see if it can walk. If it can walk, it's not an nefula. Ksaver on the tzricha meis leis, because Rish Lakish says, even if it stood right away after it fell, you have to wait 24 hours before you shecht it. Halacha tzricha b'dika, and then it needs an internal examination after you shecht it. So that's another example where it's mixed, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Rav Yirmiyah Amar Kagon Diyari Bevlad Treifa. The Treifa animal was a female and gave birth. Rav Eliezer, the Amar of Vlad Treifa lo yikra v'gabi mizvech, who held that even the Vlad of a Treifa you can't offer, even though it itself is not a Treifa. Now, why did they all come up with their own explanations? You can tell the difference with an animal if it was attacked by a wolf versus the thorn. Because high moshach, by a wound, by a wolf, it's long. And by a thorn, it's round. So you can tell the difference. The wolf is going to be the treifa one. Karesh Lakish lo amri, because they hold that once an animal stands, it doesn't require waiting 24 hours. You could slaughter it. And you don't have to shecht it. So there's no. It's not a treif in the first place. Krab Yirmiyah lo amri, because Krab Eliezer lo mukmi. This opinion of Rabbi Eliezer that a Vlad treif is not allowed to be makriv, that's a das yochid. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we start a new sugya here. Okay, very good, everybody. Have a good week. Have a good Shabbos. I'll talk to you, everybody from Israel, God willing.
Okay, Ernie, have a great trip.
Thank you.
Fly safe and enjoy.
Travel safe.